I want to start off this review by giving you all exactly my reaction as soon as this movie was over. I got down on my knees. I clasped my hands together. I looked skyward, and I said to the good Lord, Lord, I deeply apologize for every single bad thing that I have ever said about Superman 4: A Quest for Peace, because it at least did not have Richard Pryor annoying me to the point of just complete and total just I can't even talk about it. I can't even talk about it. I can't even talk about it. But all that I can tell you is that somehow there is a movie character more annoying than Mater in Cars 2. It's Richard Pryor in this movie. It's Superman 3. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to our Road to James Gunn's Superman, where we're covering every Superman movie in honor of James Gunn's Superman, coming in July. We have covered the two good ones. Now we're in the nadir. We are in the bad stuff, and we're covering today Superman 3. This was released in 1983, directed by Richard Lester. It sees the return of Christopher Reeves and Richard Pryor making his one and only appearance in this franchise. And y'all, yeah, this one's bad.
Very bad.
It's bad. It's
Wow.
bad. Ooh, is it bad?
I mean, I don't know.
It's really, really bad.
I don't understand.
It is so very bad on nearly every level, with a couple of exceptions. I hated almost every second of this. But joining me is Matt Wyatt and Buffalo Bill. Okay, this is gonna go well. So, Buffalo Bill, what did you think of this movie?
I put the lotion in the basket. Put the kryptonite in the basket.
I didn't ask you about baskets, sir.
But no, I'm good, man. Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you this: was Richard Donner was she a great big fat person?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
But yeah, Lana. I just want to say Lana has great skin. Like she just just a really nice skin. No. But going back, no. But seriously, I think honestly, this movie. I don't hate this movie as much as you do. Like, is it bad? Yes. Is it? I honestly think still Superman 4 is worse because that movie was just basically made by Canon, and Canon straight up butchered that movie because they kept just stripping the budget to where basically even Christopher Reeve nearly quit the production of Superman 4 twice. This one though, he did not want to do Superman 3 at first, but apparently Pierce Brosnan was like they were looking at Pierce Brosnan to replace him as Superman. So then he basically, his Pierce Brosnan is someone else. I think it was like Daniel Baldwin or Alec Baldwin and Pierce Brosnan were the two that were up to replace him. And he got cold feet because he's like, I don't want somebody taking my role away from me. So he agreed to do it. And then the thing that was the selling point was Richard Pryor because Richard Pryor is going to be in this movie.
Unfortunately. But Matt Wyatt, I nearly forgot about you, sir. What? Superman 3, ain't it just grand?
At least it's not Quest for Peace. At least it's a movie.
Okay, let's put this to bed now. Quest for Peace is so bad it's good. This was just the boring kind of bad.
It's a boring. The third one was a boring movie. The fourth one was a crime against humanity, and I don't know how in the fuck that they came up with that. What crack they were smoking when they made that movie.
Me and Matt don't agree on a lot of things, but this is something I have to side with Matt.
Well, we'll get into that
because that fourth one really tarnished the fucking franchise and tarnished the brand of Superman.
It's the Batman and Robin of Superman.
At least Batman and Robin was more watchable. This one was like, what are we watching here?
The Dude of Steel. Look, Uncle
Nuclear Man. John Cryer being goofy. Kill Superman.
We've got.
We'll get to that fourth movie.
So much meat on that bone. So much meat on that bone.
Well, there's some redeemable qualities. I like the subplot with him going back to Smallville and meeting up with his love crush. That was Antonian O'Toole was one of the best parts of the movie, but then the whole main story with Richard Pryor being a bubbling computer programmer, where somehow he got a fucking working job at a computer program, even though and he never done it before, and suddenly he's fucking good at it.
It doesn't even start out like a Superman movie either.
And they need to have a fucking, and they couldn't
movie.
even get Gene Hackman back for the third movie, so they needed someone who is pretty much a very version of
Count
fucking
Lex
Lex Luthor,
Luthor.
which is a rich fucking con man who wants to control the fucking weather and control the whole market, getting rid of the fucking oil pumping. What the hell are we? What is going on in this movie?
Just a couple things. Number one, Richard Pryor's involvement really boils down to he was on The Tonight Show in the early 80s, and he said he really loved Superman 1 and Superman 2. And so the producer of the Superman movies, the Salkinds, basically offered him $5 million to appear in the movie, and not just as a cameo. He pretty much he's in more of the movie than Superman, if you can believe it. And he is so annoying. And I want to hammer home.
He's basically the main character. He's the main character in Superman movie.
He's even on the poster. He's even on the poster.
Yeah, he's on the front poster with Superman carrying around like, ah!
For the sake of context, I think it is important to illustrate that Richard Pryor, is funny, or was funny. Like, watch a couple of his stand-ups, like Live on the Sunset Strip. He can be funny. And two, he was very popular at the time. He had been in a couple of movies with Gene Wilder, which were widely successful and received some critical acclaim. So in a bubble, there is a reason why they did this. However, 40 years later, I just had to go there. I had to sit there.
And also with Richard Lester returning for the sequel, he had more creative control over that third movie than he did in the second film. Because he only had like 25% of his footage in the second movie, but most of the shot was done by Donner. So you could totally tell that there's a different kind of vision where they wanted to go for a little bit more of the slapstick. This one, they went fucking heavy on that slapstick comedy when Richard Lester, because it was very successful for the second film at the box office. They wanted to get him back because the second film did so well. The opening of that movie was so fucking boring that it lost the spirit of what the tone of the Superman movie. Even though they got Ken Thorne back to do the score again for the second film, but it lost its magic. It became boring slapstick in the opening of the movie, especially when Superman goes into the photo booth, accidentally taking the photo, and the kid didn't even spot him changing into the suit. Just like,
He rips the photo
thing.
Like, there you go.
There you go, kid.
Like,
cost 75 cents to get a snapshot photos.
And then he saves a man from his car, which is being flooded. And I'm like,
from drowning and flooding in that fucking water near the corner of the street.
Open the door and step out. It's a
And you know
car.
what the funny thing is? Some random dude on the fucking street, after when his Superman saves him, some random dude just got a fucking paint bucket on him. I don't know what to do. Oh, what's going on? Oh, like, what the fuck are we watching here?
A blind guy.
There's a fucking walking penguin. It feels like the fucking villain penguin crossed over to that universe, and there's a walking flame penguin, and Clark just blows out that fucking flame and just let him walk with that walking robot toy. Like, oh, what are we watching here?
I must say, okay, even though yes, this movie has bad things, there was some behind the scenes production problems. Like, for instance, Gene Hackman refused to return because him and Richard Lester got into a fight on Superman 2. And then on top of that, Margaret Kidler did not like Richard Lester. So that's why but she said her contract.
Yeah, and it's, and Annette O'Toole talked about that in Michael Rosenbaum's podcast. Like, she didn't know why that she hated the director at the time. And that's why she's only in 2 scenes, one in the beginning and near towards the end of the film. She just leaves.
Like,
you know what?
Hello, Margot Kidder. You are an important part to this franchise. What do you think about it? Well, I don't like how you treated Richard Donner. Oh, well, that's interesting. That's very good. You enjoy your 2 scenes, because that's all you're getting is 2 scenes.
And also, like, since they couldn't keep Lois Lane, so they had to write her out of the movie. So they needed Lana Lane.
Entire scenes. That's all you get. That's all you get, Margot Kidder.
You know what? I will say, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and say there are great things in this movie. Like, for instance, I like how it's trying to say technology is not always the thing we should rely on. We should rely on humans, because at the beginning of the movie, like, technology is what causes all these havoc stuff in the beginning. And then on top of that, like, we're basically like, there's even something in this movie that happens whenever him and Jimmy are going to Smallville on the bus. And then there's that nuclear power plant that's happening.
It was a chemical. It was more like the chemical power plant.
that was something I thought was great. I really enjoyed that. Although
yeah, I'll
I
give
just
credit
missed
where
one
credit was
thing.
due. It was a good scene. It's not bad.
I
Like
was
at least the
wondering-
budget was a little bit better than what we saw in the fourth movie.
Oh yeah, the fourth movie doesn't even have a budget. It was like probably like a nickel and diming. They were Superman and
Pretty much, yeah.
yeah.
You could pretty much see the darkening curtains on the air quotes moon, but we'll get to that.
But this one I do like. There's a couple things I do like. Okay, even though yes, Richard Pryor is not great in this movie. You know, in fact, I will even say this: at the beginning of the movie, I didn't even know I was watching a Superman movie when he's at the DMV or the unemployment line, and I'm just thinking, am I watching the right movie? Actually, like, am I watching like I'm not watching like Brewster's Millions or something? I'm watching like Superman.
Dude, just
2, right?
imagine going to the theater and really anticipating another Superman sequel, and then you're watching the beginning of Richard Pryor. Like, wait, or what? Or did we watch? Didn't we get into the wrong film? Are they showing the wrong movie?
Now there is something. There is some things I do like. Like I love whenever like he gets the kryptonite and then he becomes just such a dick. Like Superman is just like
It's basically gonna be the red kryptonite version before red kryptonite was a thing in the live action. Like they look like they haven't took notes from the comics.
I do like
And he
that
gets he types in the machine, try to get a fucking meteorite material that is unknown. Like how the fuck is that even possible that you can get it from space? Shooting a fucking Maneros.
He writes in tar, like on the pack of cigarettes. He writes in tar, and somehow that kryptonite is effective. I'm just sitting there like,
And also with Superman's experience with kryptonite, and also with his experience with kryptonite in the first movie, he didn't even hesitate. He didn't even look terrified when he sees the green rock. He should have suspected like that must be kryptonite.
There's also
what is going on? What's wrong with this picture?
Scene with the Patton where he tries to go Patton or Richard.
That was a cringy fucking scene, and also he didn't recognize him because as Clark Kent he bumped into that same dude earlier, not so long ago, and he didn't even recognize him.
The Richard Pryor stuff gets more and more bad as the movie goes on.
It almost feels like he's in a National Lampoon
and
movie.
the biggest thing is when he skis off a fucking building and survives.
The
pitch. Watch the pitch meeting. Watch that pitch meeting. That was pretty funny.
Me in the future put in the clip that Matt sent in the group chat.
And then after he's done explaining in a funny way, he's going to accidentally ski off the top of a skyscraper. Oh, so he dies? Well, no, sir. He's wearing skis, so he just kind of lands in traffic and takes off. What are you talking about? Real funny stuff.
But man alive.
So did he die? No, he just landed in the street, no sweat. The guy is fucking skiing on top of the fucking skyscraper with full snow on top of it when it's not even winter. How is that even possible?
My question is this: how is that real snow that he got and dropped there, or is that paper mache? Because there's no way if that's real snow, because that thing would have been melted by the time.
Yeah, it must have been fake snow, and you're skiing on top of the building that you can easily fall off and fall to your death. And somehow Richard Pryor survived the fall. That fall, the way he did that was the funniest shit. Like, how are you even still alive? And you're showing this to kids and giving them the wrong idea. Like, kids, don't try this at home, say.
Imagine how many kids committed suicide doing that because they wanted to be like Richard Pryor.
Well, actually, how many kids who committed suicide try to fly like Superman back in the day?
That's true.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and welcome to Jackass.
It's literally it feels like Jackass. Johnny Knoxville took notes.
Oh my God, man, Ryan, put that scene of him saying this and put the Johnny Knoxville intro, like the voiceover.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass.
Welcome to Jackass.
That is such a Steve-O thing to do. If you all know, you know. But
I will.
Collins brought up Annette O'Toole. I want to give her flowers while I'm thinking about it because she is legitimately great here. And when I heard Lana Lang, I'm like, what? And then sure enough, we get the triangle, and I'm just like, I hope this doesn't last 6 years with
remember Brad? Yeah, remember Brad, the bully in the first movie in the prologue?
He's basically Whitney. He's the Whitney of the story.
He's Whitney, but like not
a loser.
But he's just a loser, a drunken loser who's trying to put the moves on Lana again. Like he's the kid, he's the guy who peaked in high school.
And it's the guy from Porky's too, the redneck dude from Porky's. That's what makes me.
That's been a long time. I've only watched that film once.
He's the rednecky dude, the one that wants to keep fighting the stripper, the Porky,
right?
Because he took their money, and I'm like, Which I mean, I don't know if you ever seen.
Dude, you do know they had the black and white photos of their younger self in high school, and Clark Kent has his glasses off, and you see the younger Christopher Reeve. And honestly, no one recognized that Superman in that photo. No one recognized him, and they couldn't even get Jeff East, who played the younger Clark Kent, to get that photo up there. No, let's get younger Christopher Reeve, a black and white still photo of his high school picture. Like what? How, dude, it's literally sitting right out in the open, and they don't say that's Superman. Without his glasses.
Collins is chomping at the bit. So
no, it's just I was saying the thing that also there is a scene in this movie where Superman is sitting on a couch, and after he becomes evil, and he is trying to fuck Lana Lang so bad to where he gets almost like is he about to rape her? Because it's like that's how
okay, that's a little pump the brakes here on that one. Like
she's like uncomfortable, like she is sussing is so cringy. I'm like he gets closer, like hey. Like he's sitting closer.
He gets a little bit of a creepy vibe in that one scene, yeah. When he was avoiding danger and he just tries to put the moves on Lana.
And then it's like Superman. What about the shit? And you go, oh yeah, that yeah. And then he goes flies away, and then he gets angry. But like should have been here. And he goes, and then all of a sudden he's just going.
He becomes a prankster. Superman, a prankster. He just puts back in that national monument in somewhere in Italy. That one hit that
the Leaning Tower Pisa to normal.
Pisa, yeah. And this was on an awful fucking green screen. The guy was standing in front of a green screen. It was so noticeable. When you watch it in HD or 4K, it looks awful.
I have it on 4K because I got the steel.
And he just throws it on the ground like, oh no, thank you, man.
Yeah, like
what is going on?
That was apparently funny to someone.
And he blows out the candle of that torch from the
that
Olympics.
To me made me laugh. I did laugh at that one because he's like, and they were just like, imagine that guy ran from, the Olympic torch, Ryan. You know how far that guy ran.
that guy, I can speak from like being a runner myself. That guy ran far for like Superman to just go.
That should be you, Ryan. You should be running for the Olympics.
And then his reaction.
And imagine Superman just blow out the fucking torch like Superman the prankster.
As if this movie wasn't busy enough, we get dark suit Superman. Although here, like his uniform just gets a little dirty. It
gets a little dirty and starts to fade. The darker he gets, the worse he gets. The worse of his suits gets darker and darker and starts to fade from the color of his suit.
I do like the dark.
And he becomes the drunken Superman at a fucking one in the bar, flicking peanuts for no apparent reason, just being a dick.
Did you see the scene where he fucks that girl? The one where he's like,
one of that dude's the villain's goon. Yeah, he went to Pound Town on that. Yeah, like the moment he stepped into that room. And it cuts off. You already know where this is going.
I'm just
this is a kids movie. This is a PG film, bro.
He just went up there. He's like he literally grabs like, yeah, you're mine.
Can you imagine a child sitting in the theater asking the parent like, "Mommy, what's going on? What is Superman doing?"
He is. He's going.
You'll know when you're 18.
Her Fortress of Solitude. He's taking his crystal and putting it in her Fortress of Solitude. Which. The thing that I will say the best scene of the entire film is when you have Clark versus Superman, the good versus the evil Superman. I love that whenever he's just like.
I love the idea of it, but the scene itself was so fucking boring and it was so ridiculous. Like this is how they fight each other in the most ridiculous way possible.
I'm gonna disagree slightly. I thought the fight was actually pretty cool. It was the best part of a very bad movie where they're just like beating each other up using the junkyard. There's another Omen moment where Clark's just looking up at this big old magnet coming down. I'm like, move out of the way, please. And sure enough, shunk, it falls right on top.
It was very unclear of how they were able to split apart from the two of them. That was never very clear on that.
They just wanted him to fight his evil self, so they just figure out a way. Like, okay, well, his conscience.
The fight wasn't even that good. I hated that fight. That was so cringy as shit, and that dragged on for a little too long. Okay, let's wrap this shit up. This is getting ridiculous.
That's the only scene I was like, you know what? This is the only scene I think.
You threw a bunch of tires on top of them. When you have super strength too, punch the shit out of them, dude.
You can fight back. Whenever he beat him up so bad where he drags his body, puts it on there, and then all of a sudden takes his glasses and breaks his glasses up, and he's like, it's like over. And then all of a sudden, like Superman busts out and then he chokes him, like All
you have to do is strangle him and kill him, and he disappears and vanishes. Yeah, and magic, got a suit on.
Which, to be fair, I think honestly, I think it's better the fact that they
I
didn't.
mean, it was a
have
cool moment when they played the score when he gets his suit back on and when he's back to being himself. That was only a cool moment that I liked. But I felt like the fight was cringy. It was boring. It dragged on too long, and what are we doing? He's just whacking around like, all right, come on, like,
come on, catch,
what the
come on. And he's
what
like,
the hell are you doing? What are you, the version of
now it's your time to
Bizarro?
fly.
You might as
And
well
he's
be Bizarro.
I
Well,
just thought it was great when he grabs him and says, "No, you wanted to fly, Kent," and then he throws him. I'm like, "That's cool." I thought that was great.
I don't know. That was stupid to me. I didn't like it.
And I just like, I thought was stupid when he hit him with.
I mean, I'm all about fighting his evil self. I mean, I'm all about that. But this scene was just not well done. It was not done well.
You know, they're actually what used to be on YouTube.
He looks like a Superman cracked addict who's looking for who's tweaking like a motherfucker.
Alcoholic Superman.
Alcoholic and look like a crackhead.
You know, the only thing is, I will say, whenever I watched, there used to be on YouTube a music video called "Animal I Have Become," and on YouTube, someone remixed the Superman versus Clark scene like throughout the years, and they had him fighting when he fought. Whenever he fought, you know, they did this scene. They played that song "Animal I Have Become," and I'm like, it made the scene a lot better. Like, especially, you know, whenever he's, you know, when he crushes like glasses and then everything, he's like, it's over. Like the evil Superman's like, it's over. And then he hears the thing, and then we bust out. I thought that was, I just thought that was really cool. It made me really appreciate the scene. I will say though, the scene with him versus Bizarro in Smallville is 100 times better.
Oh, it's so much
well,
better.
maybe I don't know. Maybe it was because of the budget back in the day, and it just couldn't make the fight look more like more brutal. The brutality involved.
The frequently maligned and kicked upon and tread upon CW somehow managed to do that scene better than Superman.
I mean, at least in Superman 2, the fight looked better than this shit. Like, what is this going on?
If you think about it, they're just doing this. Boom.
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, so really,
well, they were able. Well, television shows back in the modern day were able to have the technology to have that kind of budget that they spent a little bit more than what they spent.
So
this one, they just did not. The technology wasn't there.
Here's the problem with this movie. All right,
so if this was made today, the fight would have been a much different fight than what we got in that back in 1983.
So the villain in the movie was supposed to be Brainiac originally, and it was in the script, but then they rewrote it because they didn't have the money. They said it had been too expensive. So they recycled the idea for the end of the movie and turned a woman into a female version of Brainiac.
I could see it. Makes sense.
They reworked the idea.
No, but instead we needed diet, off-brand, non-union, legally distinct Lex Luthor. Like, what was his name? Winter?
What's his face?
Just say discount Lex Luthor.
I've only seen him in a couple of roles, but then one role that I will always remember him in is Basketball, playing the main villain in that movie, which I loved him in that one. Do you remember when he was flying through the canyon and he's in the villain is playing a fucking monitor shooting missiles at him like it's a fucking like he's playing a fucking Nintendo arcade shit, and it has points. Whenever he hits something, it has fucking points, and when he fails, it says game over.
You think
what is going on?
How they flew there, how they got there is crazy. How they
looked like a fucking arcade video game
balloons.
Apparently he can't breathe, even though he flies into space with no fucking oxygen.
The only thing missing from that is Freddy Krueger playing around with a power glove going, now I'm playing with power. I'm just sitting there like, sir, like, you're, of all the things to copy, you chose Superman 3. That's why you're the worst Nightmare on Elm Street movie, but I digress.
No pun intended. Or playing pinball machine on Freddy versus Jason, pinball.
That's a good point, yeah.
I will say I do really like the female Brainiac. Whenever she becomes a robot, like she looks so creepy. And I'm like, that is cool. Whenever she's trying to destroy Super and the computer becomes alive and tries to kill him. I'm like, if that would have been the whole fucking movie where she's on a computer trying to kill people, that would have made this movie so much better. I'm like, that was a better plot.
Dude, Richard Pryor, who has no experience in computer programming, somehow he could be able to pull it off like that.
Oh, dear God.
Tell me how your brain's not melting, having a head cramp.
Then she survives, by the way. She survives.
Also, like, he was literally on board of killing Superman in the first place by bringing him fucking kryptonite, and then he feels like he has a second thought and has a change of heart. Like, no, don't do it. You're killing him. What? You've been on board for killing him in the first place. What the fuck? He
Also,
completely
doesn't
turns a
even show,
180.
he doesn't even have a motivation why he wants to kill Superman. He's just not-
What's his motive? Like, he's a guy who had no career and he had to get a new job and he needed an opportunity
And
to make a
Superman
lot
didn't
of money.
cause problems.
And he
Superman-
came up with a blueprint with a fucking look like a trash dumpster.
Also, I do like that the fact is that the oil, they take all the ships. But I'm like, the only thing that made me, I like the idea of that, but then it's like, wouldn't you make more sense? What are all the ships that go to this coordinate? Most ship captains, okay, I'm not 100% on this, but I'm pretty sure they would ignore that oil, that thing, like the captain and the other was like, no, that's in the middle of nowhere. We're not going there. They wouldn't just all stay there for no reason. They would just be like, no, we're gonna leave. We're not just gonna stay in the middle of nowhere. Like
as when Superman tore down that ship, with a bunch of spilling oil in the ocean, and they're still there for like how many days now, and they're still there as Superman tries to repair it back together. Makes no sense to me.
Anyway, I'm officially done with this movie. This movie's horrid.
How about the time when he flew Richard Pryor down to that fucking coal mine, and he just crushes the coal and has a bunch of diamond? Yeah, because you remember in Smallville Reckoning, they brought that idea back from Superman 3.
Remember when he does this? He goes, "Oh, me and Superman, we're pals. Watch," and then he does this, and then they're just like, "There's nothing there." I'm just saying, why the hell would you even do that? That's so stupid.
And also, like, why would you do that kind of pose? But that was totally improvised. That was improvised by Richard Pryor.
Actually, it wasn't improvised. It was actually they wanted that in the scene because of what happened on the Tonight Show. Whenever he did that, like he had the Superman shirt in like his thing, and he did that, and I think the studio wanted him as a nod to that scene on the Johnny Carson show. Whenever he was like, when he does that, because he says, "Oh, and then he says, guess what? I'm a fan of." And he pulls out, does his shirt like this, is Superman. I love Superman, so I guess they were trying to make a nod to that. Where I'm like, me and you didn't even know that because it's like that was so long ago. Does anyone even watch the Johnny Carson's been gone since like I
saw a promo of Johnny Carson, but I never watched the full shows on late night shows. Those were like very like back before my time, before any of our time.
I'm just saying, does anyone really know?
Back in the day, Matt, late night TV used to actually be funny. I know.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's true.
I mean, Conan, I think, was the last good one.
Conan or Jay.
Now, like, none of them are funny. Like Bill Maher.
All they do is they talk politics, and then they just promote garbage movies.
All they do is just talk shit about politics, about the right wing, constantly. Like, there's. I mean, like, what are we doing? Like, are you even trying to make this show funny and fun and entertaining? I mean, I get you want to be political about it, then there's nothing wrong with it. But come on, bro.
It's like literally, when I watch a talk show, I don't expect this to turn into real time with Bill Maher. Okay.
At least Bill Maher's better than most.
I mean, exactly. Like I said, at least.
At least he's straight. At least he's straight with it. At least he was willing to call out both sides of this bullshit. And that's what I appreciate about Bill Maher. Like, he'll talk to anyone on both sides, and he'll call them out on their shit too.
That's why I watch him every Friday, because it's like, hey, you know what?
He has his own podcast too.
You know. Yeah. Also, I just want to say one thing. People are shitting on him for going to the White House. I just want to say one thing. Okay, you know what? I was like, he went to the White House because he said, he even said like that people are like taking clips of that shit out of proportion. He even was talking shit about him before he even told about his trip to the White House. And then afterwards, he was even mocking Steve Bannon. I'm just saying, so people sitting there shitting on him saying, oh, he's MAGA. And I'm like, have you seen the rest of the episode? I watched the whole thing. And I'm like, no, he was pretty much like neutral on the whole thing because he was talking shit about both sides. He was like, he literally mocked the right more than he did the left in that whole episode. I watched it, so I know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's
layers to this stuff. There's levels to this stuff, people. But
that's what happens when they show portions and they think that they see the whole thing. It's like reading the headline when you didn't read the full context of the story.
Anyway, period at the end of the sentence. Superman 3 is god awful, and somehow it gets even worse because next up on the series, we're taking a look at Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Your prayers are greatly accepted. But Collins, where can the people find you?
They can find me at 3dmoviecinema.com. And and so basically, they can find me at 3dmoviecinema.com. I am going to start soon a Road to Final Destination Bloodlines, where I will be covering all the Final Destination movies, and these guys will be joining me for some movies. and so will some other guests. I will. That's going to be coming soon. This Friday though, I think I got I have what's it called movie I'm reviewing. I think I'm reviewing the Ten Commandments this Friday for Easter Sunday,
Okay.
and for the Heston version. And and then of course, I got that coming up, and then we do small talks every week, and Talking Silence is coming up this week, and everything, and that's about it.
All right, Matt Wyatt, what about you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, just at MattWyatt92. I put up my spoiler review for the first episode of Season 2 of The Last of Us. I will be putting up my spoiler review for the finale of Daredevil Born Again. So by the time you watch this video, it'll already be up on my channel, so definitely check that out.
As far as this channel goes, a little later on this week at Talking Silence is Friday at 8 East, so stay tuned for that. Small talk as always. Faith-Based Movie Month continues with my thoughts on Hacksaw Ridge. Jacob Barton will be joining me to cover that. And there's a lot more stuff coming, so stay tuned for that for the Quest of Peace review. Again, prayers greatly appreciated. But for Jacob Collins, for Matt
It
Wyatt,
sucks for me that I had to watch it again and have my brain melt.
for all of that and more.
The Dude of Steel.
Nuclear Man, I don't know anymore.